So as promised, here are the colors to the Odette and Odile Swan Lake fan art. I started by flatting out the colors with a paintbrush set to an opacity of about 60%. You never really want to go full steam with it, when you're doing the shadows, because you want those different layers of color. So now I'm working on the ear, throwing in a bunch of different colors, and then blending it with this smudge tool, again set to about 60 to 50% opacity. On Odile's skin, I wanted to keep it a little gothy color, not so much blue as in the cartoon, just to give her more of a natural feel. So now I'm doing her lips, which are a dark burgundy-ish red. With lips, I kind of like to keep it kind of loosey-goosey. I just throw on that little nice shine in the corner, make sure it's darker in the middle, and then go from there. Now I'm working on just shading the nose and throwing in the whites of the eyes that, again, are never really white. Her whites in the cartoon are actually yellow, but I didn't feel like doing that. So the eyelashes I kept kind of blurry because it's going to be a far out shot anyway. Now I'm adding her purple eyeshadow, which is fun. And just little highlights here and there on her cheeks and the high spot of her eyebrow. And adding a little blue under her eye. Now it's time to add some details to the eye. Give it a little shine over the top of the iris and the pupil and everything, just to make it look wet. So now I'm flatting out the shadows of Odette's skin. She's obviously a lot pinker than Odile, to kind of just make her look like healthy and vital and appealing. So throwing together the hands really quick. I didn't really detail these too much. You'll notice on the hands there's a lot of pinkness around the ends of the fingertips and the knuckle areas. It's because the skin's there is really thin, so it's the blood vessels are a little closer to the surface. So now I'm throwing down her lips. I want hers to be really light. I started out kind of dark just so I could see the difference between her lips and the skin, but you'll notice it's going to get lighter in a second. I just took the color dodge tool and just ran it over, all the lips, just to brighten everything up. You'll see it in a second as soon as I'm done blending everything. Whenever I kind of get lost, there it went. But it's a benefit of having girl lips. I just throw on some lip gloss and look in the mirror, but there are tons of pictures everywhere that you can reference female lips from. So it's always interesting to just make up a nose. It's all about building dimension and shapes. And just keep, as you saw, it kind of started out really small and I just built it up. I'm adding a little bit of a bright orange to kind of give her a flushed and red nose sort of look, and now throwing in some shines. I'm just blending that all together with the smudge tool. I use the smudge tool a lot. You can either blend it with the smudge tool or blend it with your paintbrush. It doesn't really matter as long as at the end of the day it's blended. So now we're just working on her eyes. A thing that I like to try to do with the eye sometime is try to make it look like an eyeball without the benefit of an iris or a pupil. If you can get that shape going without having that extra stuff, then you're doing pretty well. So I actually put her irises on a separate layer just to make sure that I could change the shape and mix everything up without messing up what I had originally done. But I want her eyes to look almost like translucent, because I'm doing them both with blue eyes, so I had to make them kind of different blue, but her eyes are a little more shiny than Odile's, because she's kind of more emotional about their illicit position or whatever. So she's getting eyelashes. For blondes, you want to try to keep them light and brown. With Odile, I gave them, I let her stay with black eyeliner eyelashes because she'd probably wear a lot of makeup. So now I'm using one of the watercolor brushes to paint out the highlights on Odile's clothes, just to give it a little texture. I don't know exactly what I was going for here, but it's kind of a nicer effect than just having it with the the regular brush tool. That brush actually came standard with my version of CS3. It's just a watercolor brush. You can add it to your palette with the wet media, I think, brushes effect. So now I'm doing Odette's white dress. The thing about white dresses, or white in general, is that it's never really white in pictures. It's always reflecting some color, and I mean, you could technically make something white, but it won't be very exciting. So I just use purple and the shadow color from her skin to kind of bring a little brown in there and show that maybe you can kind of see a little something underneath. So again, I'm using the smudge tool to just move. Basically, you're just moving color around. I've got all my layers. Once I flat out the colors, I preserve the transparency on my layers so I can just go to town and stay in the lines. When you're doing that, you want to be careful that you're not pulling an absence of color from the edges. I know it sounds really weird and it's totally hard to explain. Just always make sure that you're not cutting into your colors because it won't go outside the lines, but it will like lighten things up on the inside. As an aside, kind of confusing, whatever. Now I'm doing the boots. I wanted it to be shiny like patent leather, but I didn't have a reference for any of this stuff, so I'm kind of making it up as I go. With really shiny things, they usually have like a primary and a secondary light source, kind of bounce things off because it's easier for shiny materials to pick up light. So I did that and threw a shadow underneath the girls. I used a tool for part of the shadow, and now I'm doing the hair, which is fun. I'm just flattening out base colors on both of them. Again, I've got the hair layer set to preserve transparency so that I'm not just making a big mess all over the place. And I actually just took the preserve transparency off because now I'm going to be a little more careful and tweak the edges so that everything looks very wispy and soft, and you know, it's just kind of a nicer effect than just like letting it be all hard and weird. So yeah, I'm just pulling at the hair. As soon as I get the outline fixed, I'm going to put the preserve transparency back on, basically lock my layers so that I'm, you know, staying inside these lines. So now I'm just moving around the highlights and try just, again, with the lack of reference, you know, you just kind of get to make everything up and try to make it look cool. So I have the light source coming from, you know, the front and to the right. But again, honestly, I just do it. I feel it looks cool half the time. So I like to pull at least like 4 different colors into the hair. It just kind of gives it some depth. So now I'm working on Odette's hair. Oh, I get confused. The background that's going to be behind Odette is going to be dark blue, and since I'm working with light yellow hair, I don't want to do it on a white background or else I wouldn't be able to see what I was doing and it would just be a big mess. So I put this blue square back there on a different layer so that I could see what I was doing, and I'll pull in the background that I created later. So I'm doing the same thing with Odette's hair that I did with Odile's, just, you know, pulling it out. I still have my lines layer active, so I have to kind of delete some of those so that, you know, it doesn't overlap. But I didn't like the way I originally shaded it, so after I fixed the shape of the hair, I went back over it and redid, you know, blocked out the shapes. So now I'm using the smudge tool. And every time you see the toolbox pop up, I'm just changing sizes. On a Mac, you just hit the control key and it pops up your brush sizes box. So you can just kind of like do it without breaking stride. So for the finished product, I pulled in a background that I previously painted of the Rothbart's castle. I have a crown that I'm going to add later. I just kind of forgot, but that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.